Hello everyone, welcome to the part of 99 Percentile. This is the podcast which is going to change your life for the better. I'm Manu Nicholas Jacob, your host, and I'm with my friend Mr. Bill Dolan, and he is our guest for today. So we are going to be starting off the podcast with a bang. So Bill, can you tell us about yourself and what you do?
Well, I am the president and creative director of Spirit Media. It's a creative agency in Portland, Oregon, in the United States. I've been doing my work for well over 30 years, and I really started out as a television director, but my work as a creative agency owner really blossomed through my work in the entertainment industry because I started working in live events. That led me to working with various celebrities and bands. A lot of people might have heard of them, like Gwen Stefani, the Black Eyed Peas, Maroon 5, as well as world leaders like President Clinton. And so, as my work continued to grow, so our agency grew. And for the most part, I can say it's been a very, very exciting journey. I love what I do. But probably the most significant thing that ever happened to me was in 1999, in the middle of a flight to Nashville, Tennessee, is I actually had a near-death experience when my heart stopped. And that really opened up my world even more to the purpose behind my business, the purpose behind my life, to make sure that whatever you do, to make sure that you're not just doing it for the sake of others, to please them, but to do it because you really believe it's a part of your life calling, your destiny, and your purpose.
That's amazing. And you have a lot more experience than me, or I think any other guest we've had on the show. And I think this question will be best answered by you. What would you have wished to have known when you started off in the very beginning?
Well, I think probably the biggest thing I needed to be reminded is I think I was very, very fearful. I think a lot of us start out with dreams that, oh, we wish this could happen, I wish that could happen. But the bigger the dreams that you have, it's not uncommon for people to put you down or to people say, oh, that's crazy to dream that way, or why would you think you could do that? Now, I know that the culture is different in India in terms of the expectations of what a young man or what a young woman might do with their life. But in my case, I grew up in a family where they just wanted you to get a job. I think the parents were thinking, we want you to move out and not have to move back in. And so they wanted you to have a job. So for me to say that I was interested in television sounded like a pretty crazy dream for them. And my dad actually tried to influence me to not do it. So I, as a young man, took a job with my father as a meat cutter. And I continued to do that work and helped raise money to support my college career until I got a job in television, just to prove to him that I could do it. And, I'm thankful that I pressed through and did it. But there were times I really wondered if I could. And probably the most important I would tell myself is keep going, keep dreaming, keep believing, and work hard. Just because something is hard doesn't mean it's bad. Just because it's hard doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It means that you might have to do a lot of developing to get there. And so be willing to go through the hard work and and then and then see what happens.
That's amazing. And the one more important thing is that all through your journey, you started off at a place where your father who influenced you and he rightly so wanted you to become a meat cutter. And from there, you kind of worked your way up to the a level of working with huge people, working with the president of the United States as well. So, how do you do it? I mean, like, do you prioritize your tasks for the day, for the week, for the month, for the year, and others like set goals for this time for these time periods?
Well, I wish I could say that. I can already tell you, Manu, that you are far more organized than I ever was. You have far more organizational and business gifts than I ever had. For me, I was just hungry to be in the business. And I was so excited to work in a world that, well, it was a dream come true for me. And so I started out with very simple goals. Goal number one was to work in the industry. And then when I worked in the industry, my goal was to be a great director. And then from being a great director, it was how can I grow and direct more projects so that I am considered a really great director. So that meant directing a lot of different projects. And, uh, and then I thought about leadership. What would it take for me to be a leader in this business? So I began setting goals and studying what it would take to do that. And then I married my high school sweetheart, the girl that I went to school with, and we wanted to raise a family. So then my goals had to do with how do I create the money necessary to raise a family and buy a home and do those things. So there were incremental goals. Each one led along the way. I can't say that when I was a little kid, I want to be the greatest director in the world. It wasn't anything like that. It was a dream followed by another dream, followed by another dream, and then put in the work. I know that there's some people that they can say, in 30 years I'm going to do this. I wasn't one of those kids. I could say, in 3 years I want to do this. And that led me down a path. Here's the important thing, too, is that having goals is very, very important. Very, very important. But probably more important than goals is purpose, is why do I want to do it? Knowing yourself, sometimes we have a drive to do things, and sometimes that drive is really, really good because it helps us do great things. Sometimes that drive is rooted in maybe the wrong reasons. Maybe it's because I'm doing it because I'm hoping people will like me, or maybe I will be important, that idea of importance. And you have to ask the question, why do I want to be important? What's the driver behind that? And so recognizing that I needed to understand that about me helped me then set meaningful goals. Not just arbitrary goals, not just goals because I want to be able to check the box off and say I won. It had to, is this going to make a difference in the world? And I would say more than ever, you look around the world and we are all fighting a war right now against COVID. And we're also fighting a war to say, how can we treat people with dignity and respect? Because there's the people that don't. And when you look at the goals that you place and the purpose you have in this world, to say, I could set a goal to say, I want to direct a show, or I want to do this. But the deeper question I'm asking now is, how will that impact my world? How will my life not just make a difference in my finances? How will it make a difference in the world? And that's really what really grew out of a lot of these micro goals, and where I am now is so exciting and our world needs right now.
Yes, and that is amazing because you also talked about setting goals for around maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 year long duration worth of goals, and that is a very important thing which I think many people do not realize as well. And it is, as you said, it is all right for a person to say that in 30 years he will become, or he or she will become, for example, a world renowned leader in a field. But unless that person puts down small goals for maybe I want to become the top of my class in a certain subject, I want to become the top of my community in a certain thing. Unless the person puts down these goals, which are not that long term, maybe around 1 or 2 years, maybe even 3 years long, you don't really get down to doing it and achieving that goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think an important thing too is that sometimes, if for example, you said I want to be the president of India, okay, or prime minister, excuse me, right? You can be a president of India,
Yes,
correct?
you can.
Right. So let's say you wanted to do that. Well, that is in itself, it's a fixed goal. You can say, here's what it is. But the other real goal that takes place to do that is not that can you be that now? That'd be hard. The question, the real goal is not just based upon what you want at the end of the journey, but who you become during the journey. Because the real goal is who do I grow into? Who do I become? So it's very, very important to be able to look inside and say, how will I personally transform to be a great leader, not just get a title someday?
Amazing. And along your way, I see a person in front of me with a huge amount of, you are a huge inspiration to so many people, and I'm sure you'll be able to inspire a lot of our listeners and viewers as well. But who are the people who inspired you in the beginning to become the person you are?
Oh, I think there's been a lot of people. It starts with the people that were really close to me, even personally. Um, when I was very young, my father was sick a lot, and he was actually supposed to die. Very fortunately, he didn't. And so I ended up spending time with a woman across the street from my home, and she would take care of me. And she was an artist, and she was a designer, she was a decorator, and she was into organic farming. And it was interesting. And she was a woman of faith, very spiritual woman. And I remember going over to her home and thinking, what an incredible influence now I reflect she had on my life. Because she opened my world to new thinking, to new thoughts, to new things like that. And then, of course, when I ended up going into my workplace, I saw lots of mentors. A lot of mentors can be just those people that are just a few steps in front of you, or maybe many steps in front of you, that you know that they have made a lot of mistakes. They've been successful. They've got context, and so they can guide you and kind of help you along the path. And of course, there are the greatest leaders of our world. I look at people like Jesus Christ, Gandhi, um, uh, Martin Luther King. Right now, we're having a lot of things around race right now in the United States. And it really hurts my heart to see that kind of division and to know that there were leaders in this world that didn't think on a tactical plane. They thought on both a strategic and a spiritual plane. They thought at a much higher way of thinking. And so they didn't get stuck with just the details, but instead were able to rise and see perspective, not where we're going today, but where are we going as a generation, world, and to say, what role do I play in influence? So all I have to say, there are different levels from being a child to career to those most aspirational. All have played a mentorship role. And I'll also say, you can be a mentor to me. The idea that you you're under 20 and you really try to establish goals for yourself. And for the most part, I'd say you're ahead of a lot of people at your age, and you're way ahead of me when I was my age. And I can look to you and say, you know what? Manu is an inspiration to me. And to that degree, you're as much a mentor as President Clinton can be to me, because I can learn from you, and I can respect you, and I can learn lessons from you, and I can learn lessons from your mistakes as well as your successes.
Thank you again for saying that. It is interesting, as many times I've heard this saying where a single person can change your life. So I think it is also a little not completely right. A single person can change your life, but among the people you meet, if you meet 100 people, there is a common misconception that the 100th person will be a mentor. But I believe that each one of those 100 people can provide some value to you. For example, in school as well, there will be a set of people who may not study at all, but each one of them will have one perk or one thing which they have mastered. They know how to do something really well. I know a person who is able to, what is this called, the trading money online and things like that. He isn't very good at school, but in that aspect, he is amazing. He will be better than any of us and maybe a few older people as well. So I think that is an important point which shows that anyone can be a mentor, and you, a person who has a huge amount of experience, I will obviously be able to learn a huge amount from you. But you also mentioned that you will be able to learn a little bit from me as well because of the little bit of work, the amount of work I'm putting into, and the amount of planning I'm doing for the podcast and the website as well. It's amazing. And now, along this way, you have worked your way from a small level, at the level of working at a meat cutting shop, to the level of working with Mr. Bill Clinton and other huge personalities like that. And what are some unique skills which you believe you have, which have greatly helped you along your way?
Well, I would say, and some people have said this, so I'll speak this integrity. Um, I think it's such an important attribute. And the word integrity, in English actually comes, I believe, from Latin. And it's the same root that we get integer, a whole number from. And so the idea of acting in integrity means to be a complete person, and you're complete to each person. In other words, I'm not really nice to one person and then really mean to another person. I'm not respectful to this person and disrespectful to this person. It means that the person I am is consistent, and I have to say, what does that person look like? Well, for me, especially after my death experience, I came away with a clear belief that every human being is worthy to be honored and respected and loved. And to love and be loved is what all of us desire. And so it doesn't mean romantic love, but the idea of knowing that I care for you, I care for your well-being, I will do what I can to help you and to be a resource for you because I love and respect you. That means I do that for the people that work for me. I do that for the people who pay me, my clients. I do that for people that would serve me in a restaurant. I would do that for people that would drive me in a car. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are, what class you are, what culture you are, what race you are, anything. You say every human being deserves to be respected. And going back to the last thing you said, that everybody can be a mentor to another person. If we were to literally treat everybody with that level of respect, instead of dismissing people because we think they're lower than us or we can't learn from them, imagine what would happen if we treated them with respect and honor and listened for what we could learn from them. That not only is honoring to them, but it means I walk away better. I walk away better because the world has become a great teacher to me. And that is a really important lesson that I would say that drives me. I think the other is because of integrity, it means I care. I genuinely care about people. And I believe that in our company, when people say, will you do this? And we say yes, we keep our promises. We're absolutely committed to keeping our promises. And more than keeping our promises, we're committed to serving them and really delighting them, making them go, wow, I paid you for this, but you gave me this level of service. I paid you for this thing, but you delivered it here. I want to look into everybody's eyes and say, because I respect you, because I care about you, because I love you, I wanted to deliver to you my very best. And I think people recognize our passion to do that. And I think it's made a difference in our company, the fact that we've been around for decades.
Yeah. And I think just one more thing is, I think there was a saying, I'm not sure, do unto others how you would like them to do unto you. So that's also the kind of the same, the idea where you treat other people with the same respect as you would like to be treated. You would treat other people with the same amount of honor and treat them with the integrity, as you said, with which you would want yourself to be treated as well. And that is very important because when you say something, you would want other people to listen. And when other people say something, the good thing for you to do is also to listen because you for sure will be able to learn something from another person as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, for years that has been somewhat of a universal truth. The the term the golden rule: do unto others as you would wish done unto you, which I think is a beautiful rule. What we try to teach at our company, and I didn't come up with this, I can't remember where I originally learned it, is the term called the platinum rule. And the platinum rule is not do unto others as you would wish done unto you, but to do unto others as they would wish done unto them. See, it takes it another step, because to assume that people are like us, or their standards are the same, or the beliefs are the same, or their expectations are the same. I mean, to deliver at that level still is better than most people get, but a platinum rule means you really have to take the time to know them, to really know their wants and their needs and their interests and their ultimate outcomes that they want from your product or service. So when you really take the time to not just deliver them a product the way you'd want a product delivered, but deliver it in a way that is going to be so meaningful, that takes it to another level. And that's why we call it the platinum rule.
That is interesting. I had not thought of that earlier as such as well. That's really interesting. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So when we talk about the amount of, I mean, like the values which you also have at your company, and a lot of things like that. Now, when you think about it, the way you have reached, you have succeeded at various places, and you've also, along your way, I'm sure you would have bounced back from places where you have not succeeded at something. So, and along your way, you would have also seen people who have not succeeded and they have kind of fallen behind because they have not had the motivation to go forward. How would you kind of combat this problem of people thinking they fail and kind of giving up when they do not reach a goal or such?
Well, I'd start with the simple reality. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. Um, the only time that we don't fail is when we're not stretching and trying to do things at an extreme level or things we've never done before. And so part of failing, part of life is failing. But if you picture, someone walking and okay, they're walking. The thing about failing is the idea is, do you fail like this, or do you fail forward and get up in a new place, stronger, smarter, more equipped, more prepared, and then go forward? That's why the purpose idea of understanding your purpose and the difference you want to make in the world is, because if you measure your success by whether you delivered the perfect thing today and you measure it tomorrow, that means you're only going to be as good as your last job. And it's just so short-sighted, because you're going to make mistakes. And sometimes you're going to do extremely well. And the truth is that even when you do extremely well, you can thank God for that in circumstances and so many things out of your control that made that happen. You can't take credit for all your successes. You can't take the blame for all your failures. But you press forward because you believe that you're here to make a difference in the world. It means that there's lives that you have an opportunity to change, that you have a unique fingerprint that says only you can do something very special in this world. And you get to decide even after failure. And it hurts. There's no question. It hurts. There's times you question yourself. You say, can I do that again? Am I willing to get hurt? And you remember why you're doing it. Because it's not about you. It's about a bigger picture. It's about making a bigger difference. And you get up, and you dust yourself off, and you step forward and you do it again. But this time you do it smarter. This time you do it better.
Amazing. And the idea also which you also talked about where you can either fail forward or you can fail and fall backward. That is a really important concept, and also I think I do not know that this completely related, but there was a story of there was a donkey who was pretty old. Now the donkey had fallen into the well, which also had dried up. So now the owner, all through his life, I mean not all through his life, for over the past year or so, wanted to both sell the donkey, but the donkey was very old, so no one would buy it. And he also wanted to cover up the well. So what he decided is to just dump in the mud slowly into the dump in the mud into the well, and therefore he would get rid of the donkey and the well at the same time. But now here's the twist. Now each time he put a little mud into the well, the donkey shook the mud off and stood on top of the mud. And the next amount of mud he put into the well, the donkey shook that off again and stepped on top of that. And over time, when more and more mud were kept falling to the well, the height at which the donkey was, the depth at which the donkey was in the well kept decreasing because he kept slowly moving upwards after shaking mud off. So I think failures are also somewhat can also be shown in this kind of manner where each time you or the failures in the mud falls on you, you can shake it off and you can step on top of it, or you can just stand there and the mud keeping on falling on top of you that may bury you over time simply because you did not step on top of your failures and move forward.
It's a great story. Great story. And there's many times I felt like a donkey.
Right. Yeah, and now also kind of we are as towards the end of the podcast. So, what great advice would you give to someone wanting to pursue a career like yours? For someone wanting to go against the normal flow of life, but actually going on towards filmmaking and becoming big in that direction?
Well, the first thing I would say is really spend some time and reflect on where you are in your career. In my book, I have a book called The 7 Disciplines of Relationship Marketing. I talk about my story, but I also talk about some things that are, I say, 7 foundations that become not only a marketing model, but also really the template for creating a movement, a personal movement. And one of the things I talk about early on in the book is what I call the authentic purpose compass. And the authentic purpose compass, in fact, I'm sure that many of us, look to God and say, God, give me a map. Show me what I'm supposed to do. And the divine usually answers that prayer not with a map, but with a compass. And that compass consists of really 3 elements that can form a trajectory. The first element really is passion. And that is to really ask and be honest with yourself about your passions and why you have them. What are really important to you? And those are important because in some cases, at least, we have a saying here. I don't know if you said it in India. Once you find your passion and you work your passion, you'll never have to work another day in your life because every day will be fulfilling and wonderful. And that sounds like a good idea, but it's not completely true. That's because the second element of the trajectory has to do with aptitude. And that is, what are your giftings? If, for example, your passion is to be a doctor. I know when I was little, my mother was a nurse, and I thought, okay, I want to be a doctor. And my mom thought it was great. Your son's going to be a doctor. That sounds so important and valuable. And I was going to make a good living, and all those different things. But then I got into high school, and I realized I had no aptitude to be a doctor. I mean, 0 aptitude to be a doctor. I have so much respect for those people that work so hard because even though I had an interest and a passion, I realized I had no aptitude. And so it caused me to start thinking about what are those things that I do have aptitude. And there's a very good chance that when you were a little child, you had skills that people would notice. They said, oh, Manu, you're so gifted at this or this or this. And you get those great aptitudes. Now, when you combine them with passion, now you're starting to get a real key for where you should be. Now, if, like a lot of cases, and I say this respectfully, maybe it's a parent, or maybe it's an uncle or a friend, and they goes, Manu, you're so good at this. Well, they usually say that because they want you to go get a job and they want you to make a living. But do you know what you call an aptitude for which you have no passion?
No.
It's just a job.
No.
It's just a way to make money. And there's a lot of people out there that are working in jobs that are not fulfilling. They put money on their plate. They put a roof over their head. They might even have great prestige and great positions. They're not happy because they're just doing a job. And that's very honorable. It's very respectful. But if you're really looking for that compass, it's time to assess. And then there's a third element, and I call it the just experience. Look at the experiences of your life and say, gee, I've been interested in this. I do this. I do this. Even when you're 15, 16, 17, 18, even, in your 20s, if you start thinking back and go, wait a minute, I actually have some experiences that I really enjoyed and which I was really good. And so the reason I call it a compass is it's not a perfect map, but it gives you a trajectory. And I would challenge everybody to look at those things and say, do I have passions? Do I have aptitudes? What are these next steps? Because things are going to get hard. And you're going to have struggles. And the economy is going to do really difficult things. And sometimes great things. But it'll be that passion and that why, that purpose that will press you forward. And so I encourage everybody to know themselves, know that why, and know that even when you're 17 years old, 18 years old, you can change the world one life at a time.
Okay, yeah, that's great. And again, I thank you again for being on our podcast. It's been an amazing experience talking to you and both our viewers and listeners also. I'm sure they will be able to get a huge amount of insight and a lot of experience after listening to this podcast as such as well. So, yeah, I think that concludes the end of our podcast right now.
Thank you so much for having me, my friend. Take care.
So for content like this, don't forget to follow us at our website at part299percentile.com, and don't forget to follow our podcast. It's available on Google Podcasts and iTunes as well as on Spotify. So now also follow my YouTube channel at Manipulation Vlogs. I will link all of this in the description down below. And remember, visions, goals, tasks, and relationships. Work on these 4 things every day, and you will improve every single day. Signing off for now, Manu Nicholas Jacob.